Ladies and gentlemen, the Pond Prowler versus the West Marine Water Tender. I've had time to spend time on the water with both of these boats. I'm gonna tell you which one I like better, which one of these has already sold that I am getting rid of, and what is better for what situation. So with enough jabberboxing out of the way, I'm just gonna film these boats and we're gonna talk about them. All right, so I'm obviously a huge fan of these little tiny boats and I wanted to fully customize that one, but then I got this and found I liked it much better. So we're gonna customize this, and there are some other tiny boat builds I do wanna do in the future, so let me know any other platform you think would make a good video. But let's start with the water tender, because I got this guy first, and it looks more like a full boat. So I've got a full video on this, kind of talking about it, all the specs. It's a 3-person, the weight capacity is about 530 pounds, integrated dry storage, reinforced transom with wood on the inside, so it is reinforced, and it's honestly pretty rock solid and a good looking boat. Certainly looks more like a boat than this does. This doesn't really look like anything I've ever seen before, which was why I didn't go with it, because I was gonna convert this, bimini top, seats, the whole 9 yard, full decking and everything. But the wife and I took this out, and within 20 minutes, we knew that this wasn't the boat for us. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this thing. It's super easy to move. I accidentally bought this jet ski stand on Amazon like 3 weeks ago, and I just put the boat on it just cause. But, inside of my storage unit's kind of bowing in. Oh well. Anyway, so this thing floats really well. And in fact, my trolling motor setup, which the trolling motor is still in the truck, but I just have a 55 pound thrust. This thing moves. This is a little bit more of a parachute, but we're not talking about speed here, folks. This thing, listen, I'm 6'1", and this does have more room. It's wider, for sure. This has not that much room, even though it feels like it has infinitely more room, but we'll talk about it. So this is fairly shallow. So this isn't something that I really thought about, but this is a good 6 inches right here. And this is double. That's a good foot off the ground, maybe a foot and a half. So when I'm 6'1", sitting in here, my legs were all cramped up. I had the cooler right there, the motor right here, and the wife in the front. And although we had so much room for activities, this is not our boat, and I'll tell you why. My wife and I, we like to fish. We just need something stable, and by we, I mean my wife. And she did not feel stable in this. So I sat here, I'm 170 pounds. I sat here, wife sat in the front, cooler counteracting the weight over here, and all our gear, and the boat was definitely turning to this side. So it is true to its name. It's a daggone water tender. This is not a fishing boat. If you're gonna put a 9.9 on the back of it and you're gonna go take care of your yacht, you're just gonna run around, you're gonna island hop, you're gonna do whatever, this is a great boat because you can haul way more gear. And an extra person, maybe 4 if you're ballsy, if you're all fairly light. But this thing is, I love it, I really do. Shallow built-in cup holders. But in terms of stability, I was absolutely not impressed. And I don't know, this thing in comparison is absolutely, completely night and day in terms of stability. So this, obviously, if you're looking to fish, you're gonna wanna stand, right? Because you're not gonna wanna sit with your legs all kind of wrapped up almost in crisscross applesauce. Any grown man is gonna have an issue with that, especially if you're over 6 feet. Even if you're 5, you're in the high 5s, baby, you're gonna have trouble. You're gonna get some cramps. But this thing, I've been out for hours and have not felt any sort of repercussion from just sitting, dicking around on the water with my wife. So this boat is a great boat. It looks good. It has unlimited customization capabilities. It looks more like a proper boat. It comes with dry storage. You can add more people, more gear, slightly higher weight capacity, but this is clearly only meant for 2 people. That could have basically up to 4. It's rated for a 3 horsepower. To be fair, I don't know what this is rated for. People put whatever the hell they want on these things because who cares? Who cares about safety recommendations when you're having fun? So now, let's move on to this boat. So this is my most recent purchase, and I have a full video on that, and I have a full video on this, and I paid $300 for this boat, and they retail for about $800. So I got a pretty good deal, and originally I was gonna flip this boat for a profit because that's what my business is. I got another storage unit right here. We flip furniture. We actually cannot keep inventory. Second we get it, it sells. Good problem to have, but we have nothing now. Anyway, so I was gonna flip it as part of my business, but we took it out and by golly, it is just the better fishing boat. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the design. We've got a two-piece hole design here, two-piece hole design here. This is a tri-hole flat bottom design, and this is a pontoon style design. I don't know much about how the hell boats work and float, other than the fact that the pontoon style is way more stable. You can stand on this and not tip. This thing feels a lot more bulletproof. So we're gonna start with stability here, obviously. So my wife and I, she likes to drive the boat sometimes, and we've had it mounted on the bow, but I like it mounted on the stern because I'm a traditionalist and that's how boats should be powered, right? Even though it's still a trolling motor, whatever. So my wife wanted to pilot back here. We didn't even attempt to move on that boat. I stood up once and my wife yelled at me because we were rocking like a madman. But this one, you know, I like to stand up when I fish. These seats are great. They're extremely comfortable. They're 360 degree. So, I mean, it's way, way better for fishing, but I like to stand sometimes. So, you know, I'll kind of put that here, put my phone there, drink there, scoot it out of the way. Wife usually sits way up in the front, and then I'll stand and I'll just cast. And I can walk around the deck, and it obviously is gonna move a little bit. It's a 100-pound boat, but it's night and day. And part of that is the restrictions you have in mobility on the interior, in which you are only basically supposed to walk in the middle. So obviously the design makes it kind of idiot-proof, if that makes sense, because over there, you know, you're sitting on the far left, but this, the weight is distributed evenly, plus the dual pontoon style is just, it really, really helps. So another thing, obviously this is way more stable, very comfortable. I can show you my leg room. If you're really interested, I'm not trying to plug myself here, but if you're really interested, watch my other video. Like I said, I'm 6'1", you know, I have a cooler up here, unlimited leg room. My wife is tiny, so she needs no room up here. But honestly, I sit like this most of the time if I'm not standing. I just like to hang my feet off, and when I drive, I kind of will keep my seat kind of back here, and I'll just kind of chill with my feet hanging off. They don't get wet or anything, and just drive it like this. But while we're on the topic of that, let's talk about its features, because it does have dry storage and a reinforced transom. This transom doesn't feel quite as solid, but it's still pretty good. Okay, so features. First of all, handles. Makes a world of difference when you're trying to move this thing. That doesn't have handles. I work out and work with my hands a lot, so luckily I can just grab a finger and I can rip this thing full of gear, motor and everything onto my trailer. But this guy has handles up here, front and rear, bow and stern, baby, doubled up, perfect as can be. Also, this boat does not have an interior drain plug. This has an interior drain plug, so you can pop that, water falls out there, and the pontoon drain plugs are on the bow. So features, we've got handles on the bow and stern, including bow and stern mounted cleats. That has no cleats. That thing is just free willy out there, baby, just bobbing around, no great way to anchor to it, but these come from the factory with bow and stern mounted cleats. Obviously, the seats are a major upgrade. I actually painted these a glossy black, and these are aftermarket, but the seats do come with it. They're 360 swivel, and they're padded. These are just upgrades. So let's talk about more features. All right, you might be wondering, Grayson, what is this cord back here? So this is what holds your battery in. So it has a dedicated battery housing, which is nice, and I keep it under my chair for added storage. And basically, the battery goes here. You can hook this up to the battery. It's pre-wired in the hole from the factory, and you can plug an adapter in here, so that way you can run a gas outboard on the stern like you're supposed to, and just like you're supposed to, mount a trolling motor on the bow, which is super cool. We've tried it on the bow. It does actually work way better with the bow, but I do most of the driving, and the battery had to sit up here because I don't have the right attachment, and I'm heavier, so I like to sit in the back, so we just switched it to the back. But you do have that option for when we do feel like putting an outboard on here, it'll automatically have a trolling motor wired perfectly, no mess, no nothing. Obviously, the storage in here is pretty nice. I mean, I guess you could argue that you could just dump all your crap into the bottom of the boat, but here, you know, my 64-ounce hydro flask fits perfectly in here. My big phone fits perfectly right here, and integrated rod holders. We're just raw dogging in that boat. No great way. The only real way that your rods are gonna stay put is when you put them here, but even the reel just sticks out and it's just not good. But these things, oh my gosh, they fit absolutely perfectly in there. So I really appreciate that. I am gonna have to buy some clamp-ons. I could screw them in here, but I'm just gonna clamp some more on here so that way when I'm driving or whatever, it won't get in the way of the trolling motor and I can move around and have my rods hanging out. But so this is more stable. It has more features. It is basically the same price. This is $800 brand new. That is $775 brand new. So I would say for a boat that you're just looking around to tend your your yacht. Hey baby, if you're water tending, if you're putting A to B, if you're hauling gear, if maybe you're going out and, I don't know. There's a lot of things, basically virtually unlimited things you could do on the ocean with your boats. So, I mean, there's definitely a place for this, definitely a place for that. But for my scenario, what I want to do is just kind of island hopping, having fun, but mostly fishing with the utmost stability with a boat that'll fit in the bed of my daggum truck. This is the winner for me. I wanted to keep that, but I just don't see a situation where I would ever want to take a boat out, even if I'm not fishing at all, and I wouldn't take this just because it's so bomb-proof. This thing is bulletproof. I've never even... Okay, so in my video on that, I did make this comparison, and I feel like a lot of people would be like, who wants to hear this? So this, I don't know if you've ever sat in a chair, I'm sure you have. Every man alive has done this. You lean back in the chair, you kind of get past the point of no return, you're falling, and your stomach and heart goes, whoa, shit, and you catch yourself. That's what it feels like anytime I turn my head in this boat. But this, I'm standing up, I'm getting my gear, we're switching positions, which is a little bit awkward, switching fishing positions. Come on now, you dirty dog. We'll switch positions, she wants to drive and I'll come up to the front and fish and stuff like that. It's a little bit tricky on this boat just because it's so narrow and I'm not a big guy, but I'm 6'1". I got quite the wingspan here. Well, yeah, quite the wingspan. So with that in mind, I mean, I like the Prowler. And keep in mind, the new Pond Prowler is the Pond Prowler 10. This is the Pond Prowler II. And they haven't changed a thing. So you know this works because they have not touched the design at all, aside from cosmetics. But there you have it, folks. Straight information for you. Water tender versus the Pond Prowler. Showdown of the little plastic boats. Pond Prowler is better with features. It's a better value. It has more stability, significantly more comfort, and gives you the option of a true bow-mounted trolling motor with an integrated mount wired into the hull. That has none of those besides dry storage, but this dry storage, open it up. It touches the bottom of the hull on the interior. So you take the bag out and it will touch the bottom of the hull. And this boat is not even close to watertight, obviously. None of these plastic boats really are, but this one especially. And so it will literally just, if you have your phone or your license or any sort of registration, it's gonna be brushing it up against the bottom of the hull, which will have water in it and will basically get things wet. So dry storage is not much of a dry storage. You really need to upgrade the bag or sew it tighter. I kind of found a solution for it, but I've never used it because I took it out and just didn't serve the purpose in comparison to this. But I'm running out of daylight here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth video comparing and contrasting the West Marine and this. I tried to fill it with as much information as I possibly could without talking too much. Enjoy, subscribe, stay tuned for the build on this bad boy. We're adding bimini tops, we're adding rod holders, we're adding flooring, decking, all that stuff. Stay tuned.